This is going to be a reading of a Substack article I wrote some time ago. This was in August of 2023. On thinking, what to think about and why. Why listen to me? Henry Ford once said, "Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably why so few people engage in it." This post will essentially be about how to think about thinking. But before we get there, why do I have anything valuable to say on the subject? Fair question. The truth is, I don't, and you shouldn't listen to me, except to the degree I can be a catalyst for your own thinking on the topic. This might be a bit of a cop out though, so I'll try to give you some reasons why you might want to take what I have to say into account. A bit of background on me. I was born to a 16-year-old single mother. My father spent most of his life in and out of prison, and I didn't meet him until I was in my early 20s. By the time I met him, I was more of a man and more successful than he would ever be. Rest his soul. By the time I was 30, I was making a little over six figures in a corporate consulting role, despite only having a GED, or General Education Development, commonly referred to as high school equivalency. I worked with many people with advanced degrees. Before I was 18, I was arrested probably 10 times, starting when I was 12. If you look at the statistics, I should be in jail or dead at this point in my life. The only reason why I was able to achieve what I have is because of what Henry Ford said. My competition doesn't think. My Myers-Briggs personality type is often referred to as the logician. I spend a tremendous amount of time pondering the mysteries of the universe and thinking about thinking. All that said, the point of this post is not to indoctrinate you into my way of thinking. It is to encourage you to think for yourself and provide a few suggestions on what things are productive uses of mental energy. With that out of the way, let's dive in. The Matrix. The sad fact of the matter is that most people do not think for themselves. They get their opinions assigned to them by their family, the media, their education, and the culture at large. It is hard to overstate how pervasive this is. And this is a tweet I wrote. The Matrix is a documentary, literally a documentary. Maybe a few of the details are different, but essentially, it's true. This is not an exaggeration or hyperbole. I'm fairly certain that no one knows what the nature of this reality is, but it seems very unlikely that we are in base reality. The idea that we are in some type of simulation is not even that strange. Whatever the nature of this reality is, I think we can agree that it has a malleable quality. That is to say, it cannot be fundamentally changed, but it can be worked and shaped like metal. In metalworking, we use heat and hammers to shape metal. We use our minds and our thought processes to shape reality. When I was around 16 or so, I became interested in business and success. I started reading all of the classic success manuals, including Think and Grow Rich. In hindsight, this book points to a truth, but it is incomplete and sophomoric. However, the first chapter is titled Thoughts Are Things. This is 100% true, and it is the idea behind the secret and the whole notion of manifestation. But again, these ideas, while pointing to the truth, are incomplete and can therefore do more harm than good in the sense that they can provide a false sense of security or understanding. These mental models are interesting, but you cannot adopt a mental model you read about in a book or a blog post and expect it to work for you, because it's not your model. It's a lot like someone giving you their winning lottery ticket. It's not yours and it won't work for you. You have to do the work to create your own mental model that works for you. You cannot take someone else's incomplete, sophomoric model and expect that it's going to work for you. You have to do the hard work of thinking for yourself about everything. How to create your own mental model. Let's start by accepting the premise reality can be molded by the mind to some degree. Even if you don't believe this is true, suspend disbelief for a moment and come on this journey with me. An architect starts with an idea in his head about what new buildings will look like. At first, it's just a vague outline, but it becomes more real when he puts pen to paper and begins with some preliminary drawings. Then he might start the drafting process. After that, he might build a scale model. During each step, the idea becomes progressively more real. Eventually, after enough cycles of revision, the foundations are dug, the concrete poured, and the cranes set in place. Once the building is completed, a vague idea in someone's mind has become real, whatever that means. It takes probably hundreds of hours of deep mental focus for the architect to go from preliminary drawing to the foundations being dug. Think about that for a moment. He can't just think about it for a day or a week or a month and expect that the building will start rising simply by thinking. The hardest work is before the building starts going up. Once the plans are complete, building is the easy part. This cannot be overstated. If the architect is mentally lazy and doesn't think things through thoroughly, there will be huge problems in the building process. I'm reminded of an anecdote which may be apocryphal, but nonetheless illustrates the point. An architect designed a house in such a way that the roof would need to be fully completed before being placed on top. The construction engineer, after redesigning the roof, commented on the architect, "That guy is all brains and no common sense." You must be the architect, the engineer, and the building foreman of your own reality. No one can or will do it for you. Deciding what to build. The first and most important step is deciding what you want to build. You need to figure this out for yourself. No one can tell you what to want from this life, and I can tell you from experience that you will take on the wants of those around you, but they will not be your wants, and when you get them, they will not be satisfying. This step cannot be skipped or skimped on. I suggest the following as a starting point. 1. If you could have the life you want, what would a perfect day look like? Write this down in as much detail as you can. What does the bedroom you wake up in look like? Who's there with you? What is the first thing you do when you open your eyes? What clothes are you wearing? Etc. Be specific. Also realize that this will change, much in the same way that an architect will change details of a building as he iterates through the design process. Think of this as your preliminary drawing. 2. Decide who you would need to be in order to create this life. A good way to accomplish this is to write your own eulogy. Imagine your best friend is getting up in front of everyone you know and love. What do you want them to say about you? What do you want to be true about who you are and how you lived? Again, you must be as specific as possible. This may feel like a morbid exercise, but as the Stoics say, memento mori, remember death. This is only a suggestion on what has been helpful for me. Maybe it won't work for you and there's some other process that you would find more valuable. That's okay. Just start somewhere. Figure out what you want and who you have to be to get there. Laying the foundations. Next, you have to destroy your old self and the belief and thought patterns that have been holding you back from building that life. If you don't already have the life you want, you have to assume that you're not the person who can build it yet, or you don't have good enough plans yet. That's okay. It can be painful to admit that you're not who you could be, but you must become harder than reality. The alcoholics in Alcoholics Anonymous follow a spiritual program to remain free from alcohol. And the first step is admitting you have a problem. This is the only way to solve it. If you have no problem, no solution will work. The first step is to become aware of the mental processes which dominate your mind. We all have intrusive, unhelpful thoughts to some degree. Things like, I'm a loser, I'm lazy, I could never do that, I'm not smart enough, I'm ugly, etc. Next, you have to notice when your mind is getting caught in some unhelpful loop and replace that thought with a better one. I'm a winner. I have laser focus on my objectives and nothing can stop me. I am powerful. I am brilliant and there is no problem I cannot solve. I take excellent care of my mind and body. This can seem like a bunch of woo-woo if you've never experienced the power of it, but this is absolutely essential. Remember, the hard work of thinking is before the building process can even start. It is also important to note, it does not matter if these things are true yet. We are going to make them true. In exactly the same way, the building isn't yet real when the architect starts his drawings. Find as many of the thought processes that are at odds with the person you need to be to build the life you want, and replace them with thought processes which are congruent. What not to think about. No discussion on thinking can be complete without discussing what not to think about. The past, it is literally dead and cannot be changed. As there are exceptions to everything, there are two exceptions to this. First, it may be necessary to reframe the way you think about the story of your life up to now. This could be a whole post in and of itself, so let me know in the comments if you want that. Second, what value you can take from missteps. Notice I didn't say mistakes. What lessons would the person you want to be learn from the things in the past which you have challenges letting go of? The future. It is not yet written. Again, the exception is only to think about the future to the degree to which you are visualizing the life you want and the person you need to be. Avoid worrying about things you cannot control or things you might be afraid of. Replace those thoughts with a clear vision of the future you're going to build. Information that you do not need right now. Let's say that in a few months you plan to make a large purchase or to start a business in a new industry. You want to get a head start on research. Don't. This is a trap. It will trick you into thinking you're getting a head start. You're not. This is simply mental masturbation and a complete waste of time. Gather information only in as much as it can help you with what you're working on right now. Comparing yourself to others. You are thinking for yourself now. You have no need to compare yourself to anyone else, especially since the odds that they are truly thinking for themselves is basically zero. No one can match your single-minded focus, so it's not fair to compare yourself to them. This work of deciding who you want to be, what you want, and what you have to do to get there is akin to the design process in architecture. The more you iterate and think it through before you start building, the better the chances that you will be happy with the end result. This is not an excuse to procrastinate. Exercise your mind with unrelenting force until you have a clear and detailed picture of who you want to be and what you want. Then, focus all your energy on replacing all those thoughts which are holding you back with those that will help you get there. This is the hardest work there is, which is why so few people do it. If you got this far, you can do it, and you will.